Hi, everyone. This is Mark Creekmore. I'm the advocacy lead and on the board of directors of the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Washington County. And this presentation is to prepare people for the Washtenaw Health Initiative's Community Election and Education Forum on October 21st. It's a very important activity and event, one that'll give us access to many, many people and allow us to increase their awareness of who we are and to increase our influence over mental health policy and activities in the county. So here's the slideshow. I'm going to share my screen and we'll begin. All right, here's the title screen, Orientation for NAMI Advocates, Working the Community Election Education. We're going to really just call it the forum. It's on October 21st, Monday, at the Morris Lawrence Building, Washtenaw County Community College. There's my contact information. There's an article in the latest Advocacy Digest regarding the importance of the forum, and these slides are available. If you get a copy of this, a PDF file, you can get these slides that way. What does it mean to work the forum? First of all, we want you to attend the forum for at least an hour. It goes much longer than that, but it would be great if you could go to an hour and for an hour, and we could talk to you later about it. Second, we want to help. We want you to help NAMI at the poster sessions that it provides, and encourage the people in the audience who are listening to it to participate. That means five things essentially: talk and listen to them, and form relationships with these individuals in the audience. Explain some things about your lived experience with mental health conditions. Explain about NAMI, people with lived experience who seek to educate, support, and advocate for people with mental health conditions. Distribute written handouts about NAMI to our audience, which will be available at the poster session. Encourage our audience to join NAMI and participate in our mission. So those are the five things that we would like you to help you do at the poster sessions. In addition, we'd like you to think about working the room, a gentle art involved in persuading people and informing them about NAMI and persuading them about our points of view. For working the room means meeting other poster presenters. There will be several other organizations at this for this entire day. Listening and learning about what they do and what their organizations do. Share the joy about NAMI with them, your experiences. Uh, and finally, take their contact information and perhaps contact them afterwards and send them an email or something and say, it was great to meet you, learn about what you do, and then blind carbon copy that to me or the office so that we can log it. Really, the most important thing about this event, the forum, is to have fun. This should be a really interesting event, especially about an election that is so highly contested and disputatious. Okay, this orientation has three sections. First, it's four sections. Let's get it right here. The Washington Health Initiative. And first, it's about the Washington Health Initiative and the forum. The second is about what NAMI is and what we do. You should know most of this information. The third is some attributes and skills that we think are useful. That we think are useful to be a NAMI advocate. And some information about the whats and the whys about millages. Okay, section one, the Washington Health Initiative and the Community Election Education Forum. It's designed to be nonpartisan, a gentle advocate, and for us to be gentle advocates for mental health. Here's something about the WHI. It's a voluntary collaboration of more than 200 individual and organizational stakeholders dedicated to improving the health of low income, uninsured, and underinsured populations over the entire county. It's a remarkable organization. It's co-sponsored by Michigan Medicine, and Trinity Health, the two largest health providers in the county. The funders include Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners, the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, and the City of Ann Arbor. Here's some information on the forum. There's a flyer, which you probably will see, but it's linked here. It's a one-day open community poster session forum. Here are some presentation guidelines. We're going to go to them specifically in the next couple of slides. And here are the logistics of the event. As I said, one day, October 21st, there are two time sectors, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. is one sector, and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., the second sector, allowing for people who are working to get to the events in the evening. The poster presentations will be in 25 to 30-minute blocks. So there will be one poster presentation. All the poster presenters will present at one time. They'll break up, and people can move between poster presentations before they leave the event. There is no plenary event. There won't be a meeting which everyone convenes at, but there will be some snacks. Okay, that's the logistics. Here are the guidelines for the forum and how it fits with our lived experience. It's kind of an interesting exercise. They say, and we agree, that all content must be nonpartisan, devoid of advocacy, with emphasis on objective, factual information to facilitate neutral content and conversations. That's the quotation from their guidelines. Let's unpack that a little bit. Nonpartisan means no references to political parties, administrations, or political ideologies. That seems fairly straightforward and reasonable. It should be devoid of advocacy. It means that there should be no advocacy about how to vote or whether to accept any given position. So please don't say vote for the mental health public safety millage, even though that's very important to NAMI and to the entire mental health community. We don't want to put people in a position of being confronted with what they should do. We want them to talk with us, and we want the opportunity to persuade them if they don't agree. The third area is the emphasis on objective factual information. It doesn't say solely factual information. It says the emphasis that we should be emphasizing factual information. Implicit here is an allowance for our lived experience as long as it's not generalized to everyone. Your lived experience is an expression of you as a specific, unique individual. Therefore, we could say something like, in this context, NAMI used millage monies to help fund and divert people with mental health conditions from unnecessary jail or arrest. That is a factual statement. That's what NAMI, that's not what we used our millage, one of the things we used our millage funds for. My experience is that jail is very damaging for my mental health, and diversion gave me the help I needed to avoid further contacts with police and courts. That is a statement of my experience, but it clearly states that, but it implies that that necessarily does not generalize to everyone. Therefore, it is a statement of fact about my experience. That's how we interpret this emphasis on objective factual information. Let me go in a little more detail about that. Their prohibition against advocacy means don't advocate for any candidate. That's pretty simple. Don't make statements which directly support partisan political positions or value judgments. That is about whether you're liberal or conservative, or you support someone's rights to this or that. For this event, I would even avoid the admonition to fight or avoid stigma. That's arguable, but I think we can do that in this case, in one case. What we want to do is emphasize factual, objective information. Your lived experience is okay as long as you express that it may not apply to everyone. NAMI wants you to emphasize factual information, but also wants you to give your individual experiences, which may vary among people. The reason for this care and caution is the divisiveness of our political environment. Washtenaw Health Initiatives wants the forum to be a safe place for people with different opinions so that they can learn about mental health conditions and what we do. If we make it too a partisan event, the concern is they will shut down their listening and avoid discussion and avoid an opportunity for us to persuade them. Well, that's the reason for this admonition against partisan advocacy. Okay, next section. What is NAMI? What do we do and how do we do it? This is a quick review. You should all be familiar with the fact that NAMI began during the deinstitutionalization era, when the community mental health organizations began, and when the large institutions closed. NAMI has national, state, and local affiliates. That's obvious. We know that. NAMI is peer run and volunteer run by us with lived experience, those people with lived experience, that is, people with mental health conditions and their supporters. Fourth, NAMI uses formal, evidence-based programs with trained peers for education, support, and advocacy. So we've all been trained by NAMI National, and these are formal evidence-based approaches. Finally, and we all know this, NAMI gives no clinical advice and does not charge anything for our services. This just diagram simply summarizes that. Peers, volunteers, trained with lived experience, and no charge. So what specific local work does NAMI do? And we should always be familiar with this. First of all, we have support groups, mental health support groups, for people with mental health conditions and different support groups for their supporters. Secondly, we have education programs for people with mental health conditions and their supporters. The third is we do a lot of outreach, especially at the hospitals, to encourage people to join NAMI and to engage their peers in getting educated and supported in their mental health journey. And finally, we've done things like a resource guide called Taking Care, a guide to mental health for everybody. In addition, we gather data for advocacy and service reforms. And we did 21 interviews of people with inpatient psychiatric services experience. That's an example of that. And we do nonpartisan advocacy work. We collaborate on many, many boards and advisory committees and focus groups. And NAMI has its own advocacy projects. Here are 5 current nonpartisan NAMI advocacy projects. First is to develop better access and improved outpatient and inpatient psychiatric programs. The second is to expand the crisis response services at 988 and with other response programs. The third is provide more accountable and responsive services through the mental health public safety millage. Fourth, we are now developing teen mental health education clubs in schools. This is new and really exciting and interesting. And fifth, we're providing community education and candidate education. So those are 5 of our current advocacy projects, and they're all nonpartisan. Here's how to join our work. You can read the NAMI Advocacy Digest, which is put out monthly. You can read about us in the newsletter, attend meetings. We have them each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Give us a note. We'll include you in our group. You can join us in a specific work team and work area. We have 5. I'd love to describe those to you later. You can leave a message at this number or contact me or the NAMI office if you want to join our advocacy work. Okay, section 3, some useful attributes and skills for a NAMI advocate. We want to learn and help others to learn about the changes to our community mental health created by the millage and the candidates, to learn about candidates and community attitudes about mental health. We are a learning organization and we want to help others to learn as well. Here are some useful attributes to encourage people to learn and to encourage persuasion and to be a non-confrontational advocate. Be concise, not unfocused. Be sincere and emotionally moving, but not emotionally overwhelming. Be sensitive to the audience, not arrogant or dominating. Be relatable rather than being shaming or judgmental. Be hopeful for recovery rather than despairing or overly critical. And be patient and persistent in a ways that encourage thought and deliberation. So those are the attributes, that characteristics that are very useful for people to have. And if you have these characteristics, I think you'll be a great advocate. Here are some skills that we actually learn and teach in our advocacy. How to listen actively. For example, we use verbal cues all the time without interruption, such as, oh, I see, or uh-huh. That shows that you're listening. One other skill is to restate exactly what a person says and ask them if that's what they've said. You've understood them carefully, correctly. That puts slows down the interaction and makes it certain that everyone's being very clear. This other attribute skill is equally important, and sometimes is important to paraphrase it or pre-state with an apology, which is to clarify what they've said. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I caught that entirely. Would you mind providing me with more detail? Or better yet, can you say more about that? And usually I avoid the word why, which sometimes calls people into account and can be seen as judgmental. Why did you do that? That suggests a judgment that somehow that's what you've done is wrong. So rather than say why, say, I'm sorry, can I get more information in detail about what you just said? I'm not sure I understood it. The fourth skill is to rephrase using other words rather than the exact words that a person used or asking about to clarify. And the fifth skill is to summarize and refocus. So, and then to say after a short summary in your own words, in our own words, you can ask, do I have that right? If you're asked a question, it's an important skill to know that you should answer honestly without judgment. For example, if they say, do you think I'm being inappropriate when I do this? You can say, honestly, I don't know how I would react if I were you. It's being honest. I don't really know. It's very important to uh, suggest that we don't know everything and I'm just listening. So tell me more about it. Okay, those are some skills that we find very useful to be a persuasive advocate. And that a lot of it has to do with active listening. All right. Section 4, there goes my dog. Sorry about that. It has concerns the whats and the whys of millages and the contested connection between mental health and public safety. I'm going to stop the, can't do that. So this is the basics of how public funding occurs. It occurs in state taxes such as income tax, retail sales, property, transportation, education, business, lottery taxes, and tobacco. So the state has a certain level of taxes. And then at the other level, there is taxes for county, townships, and cities. Property taxes in Michigan are the main local source of revenue for all types of local governments, from cities, townships to counties, school districts, and special districts. So this suggests why the millages are so important. Here's a summary of our millages that we have in Washtenaw County, and you can see how many times the county has resorted to millage funding. Local taxes fund roads, transportation, police, court programs, mental health, etc. Local ordinances control the way millage money is spent, and that is a very important consideration. So we're going to get into ordinances in a second. The mental health public safety millage occurred in 2017. It got 2/3 of all the votes in the entire county and all county commission districts. And its renewal is occurring now for 2025 to 2033. There are language and terms of the millage that are important, but the most important language is that the community mental health receives 38% of the funds. The sheriff's office, Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, receives 38, an equal amount, and rebated to local communities which have their own police agencies. They get 24% of the millage. The reason is those local organizations, those local townships and cities which have their own police agencies already are funding their own police agencies. So an additional tax on the sheriff's office is not reasonable. It's double taxing. So that's why there's a rebate. The original, and many of the communities are now using those rebate funds for mental health programs, and that's very encouraging. The original ordinance required a community mental health advisory committee. And there is an annual report of the effectiveness of that, and that was designed for community input and accountability. Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office was not required to have an advisory committee. They also have produced a public safety report on their millage work. Those two are available at those links. The real question that has been raised now that wasn't raised in 2017 is why are the public safety and mental health programs collaborating on the same millage? Well, we have four explanations for that. First, there's a long history of cross-system collaboration. Since 2003 and 4, NAMI has been involved in crisis intervention team training with the Ann Arbor Police Department and the county sheriff and several townships and cities to train officers to de-escalate crises among people with mental health conditions. We have a long history of collaboration between police and mental health to avoid unnecessary arrest, divert people to mental health services where possible, and avoid jail and court engagement. For the second reason is NAMI is represented by a large number of people who are families and supporters of people with mental health conditions who have positive lived experience with law enforcement agencies for many, many years. And in many locations, law enforcement is the safety net which prevents harm to people with mental health conditions. The community mental health has only recently expanded its services to include all citizens. In the past, that wasn't the case. Only the Medicaid eligible populations received community mental health services, except for a few under the general funding, and those were very few people. So the lived experiences of families suggest that the importance of law enforcement in the protection and the safety of people with mental health conditions. The third reason is that it's complex work to coordinate crisis services and emergency services. When you call 911, you get either police or you may get them all, police, fire, and ambulance services for life endangering emergencies. It's very difficult to determine which of those are true emergencies, which require police engagement, and which merely require referral to a mental health agency. That's what's being worked out, and we've been working on this for about 5, 6, 7 years, and it's been very difficult work. It's not easy. So developing protocols which over the phone can determine when someone needs a police officer and when they don't is hard work, and it's being worked on. But that is the intention. Finally, it's important to know that part of these decisions have to do with the callers who call for service and their education. We need to tell people when they should call 911 and when they should call the new 988 number or the community mental health crisis line. So we have to educate the callers to, businesses, family members, neighbors, and friends when they should call 988 and when they should call 911. There have been some criticisms of the sheriff's office expenditures and collaborations. It is not, and that has resulted in the development of a new ordinance for the millage. So people have their issues that have been raised about sheriff's office expenditures. They've been defended by the sheriff's office, but they've been addressed through the new ordinance to clarify them and to allow more community input to those expenditures by the sheriff. A little more detail. In the millages in November, there's two other human service millage. There's a millage for vets, a tenth of a mil, and there's a village for seniors at half a mil. You can get information on the new senior millages on that link. We won't go into what a mill means. Essentially, it's at $1 for every $1,000 of taxable property value. So if I have a home that's has a state equalized value of taxable amount of $100,000, I would pay $100 a year for a 1 mil millage, $1 for every $1,000 of state equalized value. That's what a mill means. Here are some, finally, and this is our last slide. Here are some references about the connections between public safety and mental health. And we've included the care-based analysis, which has criticized their combination. You see that analysis here. We have included our testimony on March 20 and April 17th supporting the combination of mental health and public safety in one millage. The issue about the appropriate role of public safety and mental health is hotly contested nationally and still emerging. Here's an article which fairly represents the range of disagreement on that. And we have information from the prime beneficiaries of the millage, the Community Mental Health Agency. They have a communications toolkit, which you can get access to it here. And the Sheriff's Office has done an impact report. I have done a shorter summary, which I've linked here. Two other studies have suggested that our relationship between public safety, the Sheriff's Office, and the Community Mental Health Organization have been very important for our work and are lauded and known statewide. The first is the CHART, which is the Center for Health Reform and Transformation, the study they did. And the second is from Wayne State University Center for Behavioral Health and Justice. They did an in-depth study of this collaboration. You can get those there. The old ordinances are there. You can look at them. There's new ordinances here, and I have a 3-page summary. So it can describe the ordinances. You be asked about ordinances. So those are the issues that may come up for you as someone who will assist in the poster presentations. It's important to know this about very important, probably the most important source of funding in the county for people with mental health conditions other than the Medicaid safety net. So give me a call if you have any questions. I hope this orientation has been helpful, and I hope it'll encourage you to go to the October 21st meeting, stay for an hour, work the room, help the poster presenters explain NAMI, and enjoy yourself. Have fun. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.